but we have to start with the North London derby. So going into this, I just kind of felt like I looked at the number of people who were injured or unavailable or unwell, and I thought, all right, this could get a little wild.
Yeah.
I kind of felt it didn't, because in the first half, I thought Spurs were. I'm going to go out and say this. I thought Spurs were bad in the first half, and I thought somehow they got worse in the second half. Am I being unkind?
No. But what I'm surprised is that Ange Postecoglou said after the game, we were bad in the first half, which we could all see. That's why he made all those changes at halftime, and he said, and we were a bit better in the second half.
Bit better at what?
I don't know. They had 0 shot on target. They
had more attacking players on the pitch.
Yeah, that's all. And to be fair, I thought he even unbalanced the team a little bit to just play with Bergwall as the only kind of slightly defensive-minded midfielder. And then everybody else, there was no structure to it. I understand why Postecoglou said I had to do something at halftime and change because we were 2-1 down, chasing, and we were so bad. But I felt he just chucked players on, and there was no structure to it, no real organization. They did nothing. I was so disappointed by Spurs overall. First half, second half, by Ange as well.
I mean, look, we'll break down Spurs further later, but you're right. I thought you go with an uncharacteristically defensive lineup to start, right? With Kulusevski playing further forward, and you've got Bissouma, Papsar, and Bergwall in midfield. And then in mid-time, look, let's change everything and go hyper-attacking when we're behind and when we know that Arsenal can defend well. On the Arsenal end, obviously, bad news about Gabriel Jesus. We'll get that later. It just leaves them short. We saw Raheem Sterling.
Yeah.
I thought Arsenal were better in the first half, probably deserved a lead. But I still think, this is a team that's kind of running on fumes. If I had to come up with a headline for this game for Arsenal, this was a game that you win not through quality, but you won it through guts, through determination.
Resilience,
because your opponent were terrible and got worse.
Yeah, and again, you have chances or certainly good opportunities that you create yourself, and then you can't score. Odegaard, Sterling, Rice, the decision-making was terrible. So it's not just about the finishing. It's about like when I have a pass here and a pass to you, Gabby, and I choose this pass when your pass is easier and better and a better option. This is something like you can sign whoever you want in the whole world, Isak, Allen, Gyökeres, Vlahovic. It doesn't matter. If you keep making the wrong decision, it's not going to help you anyway. So there's still a lot of things to sort out. But if they can grind out results and win, which they will have to do until Saka comes back because nothing will be the same, then I think they will be okay. But there was a lot of positives from that game. The fact that they against Spurs, the fact that they can close a little bit more the gap with Liverpool was really good. But in terms of performance, they should have been better than that.
Yeah, I think if you're Arteta, you were looking for a reaction.
Yeah, you got it.
You got the reaction, and that is encouraging because it tells you that the players are determined. They're through there. They didn't believe the hype or the negative hype after that defeat in the FA Cup. Equally so, it's the same problem that you have before, which is Odegaard looks to his right, and there's no Saka there to pass the ball to. I think they're better with Declan Rice in there, obviously making his runs, but that's not a game plan.
Yeah.
Whether it's Martinelli or Trossard on the left-hand side. Trossard did great. Nice goal. Also helps that Dragusin kind of
forever to come across, man. What was he doing? He was jogging towards Trossard, and I'm like, what are you doing? And Kinski,
we praised him on Sunday, and now we gotta go back. But it's funny. I since I love my narratives, my WWE style narratives, or ECW even. I kind of think Trossard's like, you weirdo with the man bun. You think you're taking forever to come across because you think I am so bad that I'm not going to shoot, and even if I did, I'm going to score.
But not with my left foot. I think Dragusin expect him to come inside onto his right.
I will take it with my weaker foot and score. And so well done.
Well done.
There. Jules, there was one big incident which the officials got wrong. Again, we like to talk about performance in this, and I suppose technically you could go down a rabbit hole and say that, the ball came off Trossard, so Arsenal should have never had that corner kick.
Yeah.
which Gabriel then headed back and it kind of struck Solanke, and we can create a whole parallel narrative where none of this happens. It doesn't change the outcome of the game. It doesn't change what we saw. That
No.
Spurs were poor, right?
Yeah. Arsenal were the better team and they deserve to win. And yeah, this is significant because it's still a turning point. You score one, you come back to 1-1, and 3 minutes later, Trossard scored the second one.
But
And it
I
was a
just want to
mistake by
say
the
though,
referee.
it's a mistake
Yeah, it
by
is
the
a
referee and I think by the assistant referee too. Who
Was he on the other side though? I thought. I need to double check maybe.
Yeah,
I
he
might
might
be
have been on
wrong,
this side, but- all right. Obviously, VAR cannot intervene because we don't want VAR intervening. But equally, though, what gets me about this is it's an incorrect call. But then if the ball doesn't hit Solanke, it doesn't go in.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
no, true.
It's just kind of the game of football has these weird things that you can't account for.
Yeah.
And it doesn't change the fact that Arsenal had many, many more chances. I don't know what XG was, but it was distinctly
it's 1-7.
one-sided.
Yeah, absolutely, completely. And I think Ange was right after the game not to dwell on that incident, and I don't want to talk about it because we were just not good enough. It's not acceptable. And we can talk about Ange because I think a lot of this is on him and the fact that they're 13th, I think, in the table now, which is really embarrassing for a club like Spurs with the ambitions that they have, the club that they are, to be so low in the table. And I know they can still win the FA Cup, the Europa League, and the League Cup. Of course, they
It's a
can.
treble.
The treble, the A Cup treble. But their league form, regardless of the injuries, because yes, they've been hit badly, but so were Newcastle last season and many, many other teams, and City this season, is still not good enough, really.
Okay, on that point, the injuries, I think they have actually been hit harder. I'm going to push back on that a little bit.
Very hard.
Far harder than City have.
Yeah.
You know, when you look at sort of the starting 11, because you are talking about 4 of your back 5 out, and for a significant period of time, right? I mean, I'm guessing Udogie will probably maybe be the first one to be back. Maybe.
Romero was on the bench, no?
Romero
was just back.
But whatever. You're not helped by that.
Yeah.
You have the Bentancur situation, which out of your hands. You know my feelings on it. We don't need to dwell on it. But this is nothing to do with Ange or the club or the way they train.
Sure.
So you have these factors coming together. I haven't even mentioned Audebert. But equally, that can't be an excuse because some of the things that we saw for them football-wise, we saw last season when those guys were fit as well.
Yeah.
And that is this idea that it's very feast or famine every time you go on the pitch. He obviously tried to do something which I think is counter nature to them by playing those 3 in that midfield
That was
3.
stupid. That was a massive mistake from Postecoglou.
All it meant was that the front people didn't see service. That
but-
Son's goal, fortuitous, another deflected goal, right?
Yeah,
About
yeah.
deflections.
But Kulusevski is your best player. He's been your best player now for weeks and weeks. At the heart of the game. So he's been involved in everything. He's good for his pressing. He's press resistant when Spurs have the ball and build up from the back. Kulusevski is great in that more central position. What do you do for maybe, considering you've won 1 in 8, that you've had 1 point out of the last 12 in the league, you go away to Arsenal and you change Kulusevski and you put him on the right wing where he hardly saw the ball in that first half. You think like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Really? And I like Ange. We like Ange, but I've got no sympathy for him when he does things like this. I'm sorry. It didn't make sense whatsoever.
It's odd too because Kulusevski's the whole idea of moving Kulusevski into that more central position. That's an Ange thing. He's always been somebody who's been slightly difficult to define because he's not necessarily a pure winger. But putting him in the heart of the game, that is something Ange saw.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's something he got right. It's something Kulusevski benefited from. To throw that out the window.
I agree.
Also, because Arteta doesn't really make those kinds of adjustments based on it. It's not like Arteta sees the team sheet and he's like, oh my God,
exactly.
Where's Kulusevski going to play? Oh, let me go and you Timber, you need to go and do something about this or what, or Louis Skelly or whatever.
Yeah.
No, he's just like, all right, fine. We're Arsenal. We're at home. I've got my way of playing. I'm not going to adjust, right?
Yeah.
So that seemed an odd one. For Arsenal, I go back to the Raheem Sterling sighting we had. Obviously, no Saka, no Ranieri, no Gabriel Jesus. And by the way, been critical of him when he plays center forward. Obviously, it's an awful injury. Like everybody suffers that injury. You really, really feel bad for him.
Yeah.
But at this stage, do you ride Sterling, or do they have to go back and try to find somebody in the market? Because when
they won't go for a right winger or for a winger anyway. If they will try to get a 9 in, but it would be more of a centre forward really than anything they have. So
who else can play on the right wing? Is your winger rotation now?
Sterling and Martinelli, Sterling, Trossard, or Martinelli. Yeah.
So you got 3 guys for 2 positions. Yeah. When I guess you don't have the FA Cup to worry about, but you're in the Champions League, and
they can't go for a 9 and a winger while they also do Zubimendi for next season. It's just not possible. Maybe they would like to, but it's not possible.
You mentioned Zubimendi there. You mentioned next season. I think people are going to wonder: is this a stroke of genius, locking him up now, reaching the deal?
Yeah, I think he's trying to beat the competition. Really, and because there's a release clause, really, as you need his agreement, because then you trigger the release clause, or maybe you try to negotiate with Real Sociedad to lower it a little bit, because he will be out of contract in 2026, so there will be only 1 year left on his contract. But the release clause, anybody can pay the release clause. He just needs to agree, as we saw with Liverpool last summer. He just needs to, once he's agreed to join you, then this is it. You've done the deal because you pay the release clause, and that's it. There's nothing else to do. So I think he's smart. Would you have gone for Merino and then Zubimendi? Did you go for Merino because you didn't know if you could get Zubimendi?
You thought Zubimendi was going to Liverpool like everybody else.
Yeah, maybe that's why. But I think Zubimendi is a very, very smart pick.
And so that's obviously Georgie's out of contract. Thomas Partey may be going somewhere else.
He's out of contract as well anyway.
Yeah.
And could go somewhere else, yeah.
So that obviously forms your basis of a midfield, which suddenly looks very, very good when everybody's fit.
Yeah.
Problem is that's next season.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, it's a leap forward. You're still going to have questions. Calafiori supposedly back at the end of the month.
Yeah, I think so.
But you know what? Far. I wonder if it's one of those Arik me like, end of the month, like.
And for how long? It's more. I'm happy if he comes back at the end of the month, but for how long? Is it 2 weeks and then he gets injured again? Is it 4 weeks? Can he stay injury free between now and the end of the season? Because that has been the story so far, unfortunately for him.
Yeah, I want to talk about the best on earth, Kai Havertz.
Yeah.
Again, you know my thoughts on him in general. I thought he showed up last night.
Yeah, it's been a really tough week, obviously, after what happened against United, the penalty miss, the chances missed, and his wife getting a lot of abuse on social media, horrible stuff that nobody should go through and should receive. And then for him to then play 3 days later in a game like this, and he was not perfect by far. You can see how low on confidence he is. He missed that header in the second half that he should have scored. There's a couple of moments where he picked the wrong pass. Him and Sterling, him and Odegaard, all of that.
An early header as well.
And the early one too. But you're right. He was there. He showed resilience again. He showed courage. I thought a lot of desire.
And the thing about him is, when he's not finishing, he's still contributing a ton to the team.
Yeah.
This is the part that I really don't follow. I mean, certain strikers. That was the knock on Solanke Solanke has improved a lot. I think arguably he's been Spurs' other best player, maybe. But throughout his career, Solanke, for example, the knock was that he was languid, he was disinterested. He didn't work to the same level. And that's why, teams looked at him, teams salivated over his athleticism, his technical ability. But then Chelsea eventually said, no, we're going to put our chips on Tammy Abraham. Liverpool said, oh, yeah. And then, no, Klopp saying, this guy's not going to do it for me. You're not rock and roll enough.
Yeah.
He's added
absolutely.
That. With Kai Havertz, you've never had that issue.
Yeah.
He always puts in the defensive performance. You mentioned strikers. What's the profile that we're talking about?
I mean, they would not have gone for a striker in January if Gabriel Jesus doesn't get injured to start with.
Because he genuinely thinks Gabriel Jesus.
No, because I just don't think, I really don't think the money is there anyway for it. So they're going to try to put something together now because they have to, because they're low on numbers, as you said. And get somebody alone with an option to buy, maybe. Ideally, I don't even think they can go and spend 40, 50 million now in January for a striker.
I never understand people in other countries. Okay, some countries love their loans, whether it's option to buy or not.
funny,
Italy, obviously, Serie A being the most obvious
You've said
one.
before that people believe it's a waste.
People in England don't, right? I remember the Ralph Rangnick story when he, in his 6 months at Manchester United, when I think literally he had like 3 fit central midfielders, he said, here's 3 guys I think we can bring in on loan. And the feedback he got from the clubs, like, oh no, this is England. We don't take top side. We don't take players on loan. And like, okay, fine. But I wonder if for Arsenal that might not be a good solution.
Yeah,
either try before you buy situation.
Yeah, but then who can you get? Because Leipzig are not going to loan Sesko.
Okay, well forget Sesko.
No, let's not forget Sesko. It's like the players that you would want. Don't go on loan. They're not loany. And maybe Vlahovic is the only one because
You don't think Colomwani would have come on loan?
no, but come on. Let's be serious here.
What?
Colomwani is not good enough to play for Arsenal. This is not the answer. Colomwani is not the answer for Arsenal. Would not have been the answer for Arsenal. Definitely not. Nowhere. Not wide, not centrally, just none.
Colomwani for 6 months.
No, it's a no.
Just to back up, because I've said this before, the issue is Havertz plays every minute of every game. And then at some point, you either want to bring in a second striker, you want to play Havertz deeper, give him something different, or you're 3-0 up and you need somebody to run around. You need another striker.
I think then go for somebody who's going to bring you more than Colomwani, I think, really. If you go and sign somebody, just don't sign somebody by default like Colomwani would have been. I really think so. Try to get for somebody who actually.
I think if you had somebody by default, as you call him, you could have managed Kai Havertz's minutes better.
I'm not sure if I don't think that's the idea. Certainly, they would like somebody, but they might not be able to, and they might end up with someone like Colomwani who you get, but not really too sure, but you still get it because you need a body.
Yeah. By the way, he said someone like Colomwani, not Colomwani himself, since he's undergoing a medical injury right now.
Yeah.
On the Vlahovic point, I know he's been linked. I think the numbers here make it very, very tough. I did a little thing,
But would they let him go on loan, for example? Juve.
With an obligation to buy, probably. I think you had to really push them. But this is the situation with Vlahovic, is when they signed him, and they signed him in January 2022, he signed this 5.5-year deal with basically an escalator salary.
Yeah.
So he was making 7 million, last season he was making 7 million euros net, which is still a ton of money. Again, translated, that works out to about 200 grand a week. This season, his salary has increased to 12 million euros
That is mad.
net. Again, I'm English. I only think in weekly wages, weekly gross wages, because that's how I get my paycheck after I, come back from working down the coal mine. 380,000 pounds a week. That is what he is earning now.
Yeah.
So just for context, off the top of your head in the Premier League, who makes that?
KDB, Salah.
Salah's right around that.
Salah he's above that now.
Haaland,
that's it, probably 3. I don't even think Foden is that high. I don't think.
No, that is a ton of money, and he's got 18 months left. And Juventus, obviously, they need to extend him to preserve his value. But they're like, all right, if we extend you got to go back to last year's salary, or maybe even lower. And look, Juve generally been bad since he joined, and he's had 4 different coaches. But he's averaging 1 goal.
Yeah, he's got 12 this season already. Yeah,
he's
3 games.
He is somebody. He's 25 years old. He's the right profile.
Does he have the right attitude, though?
I think he does. I think he works extremely hard on the pitch. He's involved. He's big. He's strong. He's Serb. He's badass. I think in the right context, in a stable club.
I love him. I love him.
So the question, though, is if you're Juve, how much would you let him go for? Because they paid, I think it was 60 or 70 million euros plus 10 million euros in bonuses, okay, whatever he won't get. they need to cash in properly.
Yeah.
So could you get them down to 50 million plus bonuses? Maybe, but you're suggesting
Maybe,
that's too much for Arsenal.
I think so. Right now, I think so. But there might be an effort from ownership. There might be something to do because, like you said, it's a need. And you can also see in a way of, right, if we get Vlahovic or somebody like Vlahovic of that level, of that talent, then your chances of catching Liverpool in that title race increase of what? 20, 30, 40%, 50%.
Right.
So, okay, there will be a title race without us and that super number 9, let's call it that way. And there will be a title race with us and that super number 9 in our team. And that changes everything or changes a lot.
Problem is, Vlahovic is going to look around and say, all right, I got 18 months left. I make an absolute fortune.
Absolutely.
You're going to need, for it to be a permanent deal, you're going to have to, I mean, I think he accepts nobody's going to pay him 380 grand a week.
Yeah, and so
but
Arsenal.
You're going to have to give me more years on the deal.
Yeah.
And it's going to be expensive. And I will probably need to be your highest paid player for him to even consider it.
And it's a complicated deal for sure. And I think it's unlikely.
I think for those reasons, it's unlikely. For Juve, yeah, this goes back to, I don't think it was quite as damaging as the Cristiano deal in terms of numbers, although Cristiano obviously brought a lot of other things. But not far off that either. All right, enough Arsenal. How about some quick hits instead?
Let's go, guys.
Nottingham Forest and Liverpool battle to a 1-1 draw. Jules, the Marinakis Mavericks are not going away.
I love that. Is that from you?
I just came up with it now. And I saw a video of him in the tunnel, kind of like high-fiving the players that came in.
Yeah.
He was not spitting. He was not
time.
coughing. Wonderful.
You know what? The worst thing that could have happened to Liverpool on that game was that Forest would score early. And guess what? They scored early. I can't believe the goal they scored because I think there's no way Wood should score that. I think Alisson has to save it. Van Dijk has to be better positioned. That Liverpool
You're
defense,
not
Robertson,
picking on Trent, even though he comes from that
Trent,
side?
But Robertson even more on the Elanga. He's so far from Elanga. It was a terrible goal to concede. And after that, it was literally attack v defense pretty much. And Liverpool had enough chances to win this. Jota with his first touch equalizing like 5 seconds after coming on. Okay.
He should probably be starting that guy.
Yeah, he should have. And yeah, it's one that I think Liverpool will look at. Okay, we didn't lose, but really on another day, 23 shots away from home against the team that's second in the table.
I think the performance means you're still confident.
Yeah.
And you have the game in
you
hand.
could easily have won that game. A Reece James free kick deep in injury time allows Chelsea to escape with a point at home to Bournemouth. Gab. Not that I'm counting, but it's 5 games now without winning the league for Maresca and Chelsea.
It is. I think performance does matter. I was disappointed by Bournemouth. I went to the first half of this game.
Yeah.
And then I rushed home to so I could watch Liverpool, obviously. I thought they played really, really well.
I agree.
And then things went wrong. Caicedo should not be giving away penalties like that. I thought Iraola, he made a really brave choice early on. He took off the right back, Hill, something like that,
Hill,
Benny, and sent on Clivert. All of a sudden, it's like a 4-1-5 press machine type thing. Lewis Cook moved to right back. That didn't quite work, although in the second half, I thought the level really dropped.
Chelsea have the tendency of doing that. The second half, we saw that against Fulham as well. Very good in the first half, and then second half, they are more difficult.
Robert Sanchez, you've been on the Jorgensen bandwagon for a long time.
From a long time.
Yeah, I think the guy's a little bit of an issue. And by the way, so we need to mention the Brooks Cucurella thing.
Yeah.
Early in the game, Brooks goes down for 3 minutes after clash with Cucurella. I don't know exactly. I think Brooks was getting revenge. And good for Brooks because he's a little tiny, he's a little Welsh guy,
wizard,
a little Welsh boy, and he's got no fear about the Medusa hair, Cucurella. Barcelona stomp all over Betis 5-1 in the Copa del Rey. Oh, by the way, sorry, I forgot. Some love for Reece James?
Yeah, absolutely. Coming back from injury, great free kick.
Yeah, and let's not make any jokes about when he's going to get hurt again, okay?
Yeah. No, let's hope for him.
Barcelona stomp all over Betis 5-1 in the Copa del Rey. Jules, the Super Cup magic continues. And so I'm watching these highlights with no commentary, obviously, because it's the stupid. This is Barcelona's official club channel. You can't get some schmo or even some AI voice to whatever. But I'm like, wait, that's not Koundé. That's not Koundé. Like running down,
I mean, I don't know
shooting
what's
on goal.
happened to him.
What's happened to him? He's phenomenal.
He's phenomenal. I'm so happy. Remember the cross for Rafinha? I mean, cross/diagonal in the Super
He's
Cup
not
final.
supposed to be an attacking force.
Amazing. The way, but we've said it before, the way he's fallen in love. It took time, but fallen in love with this right back position for him. That was a centre back all his life. Is great to see him play like that. The dummy to let the ball go between his legs, then the volley, the half volley after the Lamine little chip is wonderful. You saw his celebration, great. He's so happy. He's such a great guy. It's wonderful. I'm super happy. And Barca are really on a planet of their own now. They destroyed Betis.
Betis, by the way, Mr. Pellegrini, I really, really like you and your scarf. 10th place.
It has to, it has to stop now. Yes. Inter held at home by Bologna 2-2 as Emil Holm finds a late double doink. Not sure what that means, but I just read it.
Double doink is a reference to the Philadelphia Eagles when we went on a Super Bowl run. The ball hitting, the ball basically getting a double deflection off both crossbars.
Oh, yes.
My Eagles, by the way.
That's a double dunk, okay.
Playing on Sunday night against the LA Rams.
Yeah, I'll be watching just to support you. And Gab, even if now Inter win the game in hand, they have another one in hand. They will only be level with Napoli then. Big opportunity missed.
It's opportunity missed. I thought Inter actually played well. People are taking issue with Bastoni for the way he defended off the home one, which allowed the deflection. I don't know. I think there's a lot more positives to take. Aslani is an issue, not good.
We said that on Monday, yeah.
But don't worry, Shala will be back at some point. And Lautaro had his best game in a long time, and that can make all the difference for Inter. Jules, we're not done because we have more quick hits. Christian Norgard's injury time equalizer allows Brentford to battle from 2 goals down at home to snatch a 2-2 draw against City. Jules, nice to see Foden score.
Yeah.
But this team does not look right, does it?
Not at all. Gab, the unbalanced again. The fact that they collapsed completely. I mean, defensively, they had struggled. And Mbomo didn't score in this game. But, I mean, he troubled them so much.
He looks like Romario when he plays against them.
He looks like Messi. They just could not stop Brentford attacking. And, Foden scored 2 goals. Not the best of goals, Haaland had that header. But even with the ball, I thought at times they just didn't look right. No control, not really anything in terms of ball movement. I thought it was disappointing from them. But at least just you're in a position to win. Make sure you win this game.
Yeah. I think if you're Pep, you're really angry about
definitely. Gab, it's not just Abdulkadir Kusanov that Manchester City are signing. They're also closing in on Vitor Reis from Palmeiras in Brazil. Is adding defenders the way forward?
I find this really interesting in the context of Pep because these guys, Kusanov is 20 years old. Yeah. He's had 18 months of top flight football in a Big Five league.
Big Five league, yeah.
Vitor Reis is 19. He's had, I think, half a year, 1 year as a starter.
He looks really young as well.
This is what you do, I think, with an eye towards the future, right? To going forward. This is not what you do if you're Pep Guardiola and you're like, oh my God, I need to go and rescue the season now and rescue next season.
We have to be better straight away.
So I don't know if it's Hugo Viana already getting involved. I don't know because obviously Chiqui's leaving.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're City, you're good. It's good that you're thinking about the future, but you also have to think about who's going to develop these guys. So interesting strategy.
Definitely.
They may have had issues scoring at the weekend, but after 26 minutes, Bayern were 3-0 up at home against Hoffenheim en route to a 5-0 win. Leroy Sané scores twice, making it 4 goals in 4 games. Jules, has he realized he's a free agent in June and nobody will be paying him, so now he needs to step up his game?
Yeah, this is the typical, he's playing for a new contract type of form. And he is. I think he wants to stay at Bayern, and Bayern are just looking into it, talking to him and see what it would take them to keep him, how much money would he want, etc., etc. Because to be fair, now he's in good form, as we've been saying, and he's playing really, really lovely. But it hasn't always been the case this season.
No.
And you sign him, you give him another 4 years, and then what?
Yeah,
got
you
up
don't
and
give
down
him 4
Leroy
years.
Sané?
You don't give him 4 years. You say, Leroy, you really want to be here? From now on, 1-year deals, and that's it. Yeah. And don't give me this stuff like, but the money you'll save when Davies leaves. No. Yeah. That's what you got to do.
Atalanta and Juventus battled to a 1-1 draw as Matteo Retegui snatches a late equalizer. Gab, progress for Thiago Motta? I mean, 14 draws, sorry.
Yeah, okay, keep counting the draws. In the meantime, I thought they played well.
That was
away
the best
from
game
home,
of the season, I thought.
Against a really good team in Atalanta. A team that obviously has been missing having a proper center forward. Whether he's your proper center forward or not, I'll leave others to decide. But they're a lot better with him.
Definitely.
So I think I think you've laid down a marker here. Kenan Yildiz. They could have lost this game. I thought they had a chance, but then your man Kenan Yildiz again had a chance at the end. Yeah. So if and when Vlahovic returns, and they've got Milan this weekend. Yeah. But sticking with Juve, Randall Colomwani is on his way. Oh! What can Bianconeri fans expect?
Great question. I don't want to dampen the mood right now, Juve fans. But if you expect this number 9 that will transform the team because he can do everything, link up the play. Colomwani, for me, is not Mota compatible. This is not the number 9 that Mota likes. He's nowhere near like Zirkzee. He's not good with his feet, not good enough with his feet. Yes, he can run, he can press, he will score a few goals. He's a really good boy. He will never complain about anything, never moan. But surely they signed him to play him wide. They can't have signed him to play him.
They have enough wingers. They signed him to play him at center forward.
Well, then if you think that Vlahovic is not good enough with his link-up play, wait until you see Colomwani.
It's not that they don't think. It's just he's too expensive. That's the issue with Vlahovic.
But Colomwani can't hold up the ball. And so with Colomwani leaving PSG, Gabi, to go to Juventus, for Juventus, and Vichak Kvaratskhelia replacing him in a way at PSG, is Garnacho going to take VAR's place at Napoli?
All right, it's really 2 questions in one. With Kvaratskhelia, you'd know better than me. We talked about this on Monday. You can never have enough wingers in Lucho land. Is that basically the idea?
That's the idea, yeah.
Do we expect this deal to be done
today? On Thursday as we record? Probably, very likely, yeah.
So they need to replace him, and they're thinking Garnacho. Now, obviously, Manchester United fans are looking at this, and I think this is Napoli being really, really smart. Garnacho has a deal through 2028.
Yeah.
It's a very low paid deal because obviously he signed a 5-year deal or a 6-year deal even. So he's still on that pretty low basic salary. If you're Garnacho, you're saying, all right, how can I get into the team? The way Amorim plays with the 2 number 10s, clearly Bruno is one of them. Amad Diallo is another one. Even Zirkzee could come into the mix if you have to gamble on somebody, that's the guy you gamble on because you just signed him and you can't shift them. You're not even sure if you're Garnacho you can play as a number 10.
And he's been in and out, to be fair.
He's been in and out because they got him from Atletico Madrid when he was very, very young. The money that they would bring in would be pure profit. United reportedly they value him around 60 million euros. Napoli, I believe, made an offer of 30 million. I think they can meet somewhere, and he's not going to cost you too much in wages. So I think this is smart from Napoli if they can pull it off.
Yeah.
Alexander Isak bags 2 goals as Newcastle destroy Wolves 3-0. Jules, 9 wins in a row for Eddie Howe.
Yeah, it's a club record. Never in the history of Newcastle Football Club. They've won 9 in a row in all competitions. It's 8 games in a row now in the Premier League where Alexander Isak scores, getting closer to the record of Jamie Vardy of 11. Outstanding. And towards the second half, they kind of controlled, they played deeper, they left the ball to Wolves who could have scored 1, maybe even 2 goals. So it was not perfect from Newcastle at all. But for Isak to have 2 goals and an assist and playing so well.
And as you pointed out off air, the next 3 games.
Yeah, Bournemouth, Southampton and Fulham. Before they play City, Forest and Liverpool back-to-back. So it gets tougher. Rafael Leao and Theo Hernandez get on the score sheet as Milan come from behind to beat Como 2-1. Sergio Conceição getting it right, Gabi?
He was getting a tune out of Leao and Theo, which Paulo Fonseca wasn't possibly. Fabregas was annoyed because he thought Como played really well and stuff. Yeah, he played well, but Milan are a better team, and I thought created more chances and better chances. What I'm not 100% big on, Conceição saying, like, now making it about fitness. We often see this with new coaches after they come in. He says, to play my football with my intensity, blah, blah, blah. We need to work on our fitness. Okay, work on your fitness, but bring me facts. It's very easy to come out for new coaches to say that, but it is a big 3 points heading into that Juve game. Jurgen Klopp had his first press conference as boss of the Red Bull Group, the football side of it. I don't think he quite gets involved in the Formula One. He had something to say about Manchester City's 115 charges and what happens if they're found guilty.
It was great, Gab. He was very happy to be there, explain again his choice and why he took the job and blah, 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 all of that. He talked also a bit individually about all the Red Bull clubs in the galaxy, all of that. It was good. And then obviously he was asked about Liverpool, and he talked about Mo Salah, for example, about also Virgil and Trent. And he said about the Man City charges, he said that if the titles were stripped by the sanctions that they might receive, then he will organize this big party in Mallorca in his house, where he said I would invite everyone, everybody could come, and I would throw this massive party to celebrate.
He's invited all the Scousers, all the Liverpool fans in the world.
We could all go there, turn up. He said, I'll bring the beers. And then we'll
Not
be
the
ready.
Red Bull.
Oh, some Red Bull, maybe.
For those who don't drink.
Yeah, for those who don't drink, like me. Because obviously, amongst those titles that will be stripped, Liverpool finished second a lot of the season, a lot of the time. Then I guess we'll be the champions.
And it's not schadenfreude here because, like I reiterate this, if they are found guilty and there's going to be the judgment and there's going to be an appeal and so on, if it's undoubtedly shown that they've been found guilty, Liverpool are one of the most damaged parties here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Paris Saint-Germain get quite the scare as something called Espali.
That's right, near Clermont, in the center of the country.
Hold them to a 2-2 draw until 2 minutes from time. What level are Espali?
Fifth division.
Oh, another fifth division team.
Another fifth division team. Yeah, they scored early as well to shock everybody. The pitch was terrible. It's a rugby pitch, but it doesn't matter so much. To be fair, Espali played really well. Lucho maybe got his team. He rotated a lot. There was 4 teenagers starting for PSG.
Yeah, when you say teenagers, you're not talking about guys who've never played before the cup. This is Paris Saint-Germain. You're talking about people like Mayulu and stuff like that.
Yeah, so Mayulu and Zaire Emery, we've seen them in Warren. We've seen him a lot. Mayulu,
Zaire Emery is like 20 caps for France. Like, he doesn't count as a teenager.
But Zague, not so much. And then Tap was his first ever game with the pros, and he was at fault on the 2 goals. But it doesn't matter so much. With 2 minutes to go, 2-2, there's no extra time in the French Cup. So you go straight from 90 minutes to penalties.
Which is what they want to introduce here, and which I think gives the lower ranked teams more of a chance.
Absolutely. Which I like. But I was already thinking, oh my word, imagine we go to pen now. And as we've seen so often this season with the Lyon game that we will talk about a bit, then PSG could be knocked out. And I was like, oh, well. Anyway, they scored 2 goals really late, Barcola and Gonzalo Ramos, to make it 4-2. It's still not great. I don't think they were highly motivated for this game, especially with Lens at the weekend and City next week. But they won. That's the most important. They can move on.
Who played in goal? Was it Gigi or was it Manbun?
No, Tenas.
Oh, Tenas. I forgot he was there.
So, no, really, really proper rotating. And Leipzig, one of the games of the midweek round for sure. Leipzig implode away at Stuttgart. Gab, so much for the SOS.
Yes, the SOS that I raved about, the Simons.
Yeah, and rightly so.
Simons Openda Sesko. How about that? So they managed to go a goal up.
Sesko again.
And Sesko scores a nice goal early on. And you figure, oh my God, they're going to start unleashing Openda and Nusa and stuff on the counter. And Stuttgart, they can't help themselves the way they play. They're going to... No. Stuttgart get back into the game. They turn it around.
Really
they win
well
2-1.
as well. They were really good.
But on top of that, these 2 twerps, Sesko and Openda. I'm sorry, guys. I give you love when you're good, but when you gotta be accountable.
Yeah.
Both of them somehow start collecting yellow cards. Both of them get sent off late in the game for second yellows. You cannot have that. You already have a team with a weirdo coaching you, a team that cannot defend. The only way they're going to start winning is if you guys dominate and attack. This doesn't mean send somebody out. If you want to kick people, you want to kick the Stuttgart players, you want to go and kick Chris Furyk up in the air, that's fine, Sesko. Go get somebody else. Go get one of your crappy center backs to go and do that, right? Don't cost yourself a spot in the game. Unbelievable.
That's mad.
Dortmund, gonna Dortmund, Jules. 4 starters returned from illness, and somehow they find themselves 3-0 down at halftime against Holstein Kiel, who, of course, are newly promoted.
Yeah.
Eventually, they lose 4-2. I guess Giorena scores?
That's the only positive, I guess, from a
Reina family member perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. For the rest, it was one of the worst half hour I've seen, not just from Dortmund, from any team. Because Kiel are not very good. They're not a very good team. And yet, the conditions were not great. I give you that. But still, just Dortmund didn't show up, didn't turn up for a game like this. And I don't know if you blame Sahin for not motivating them before, if it's on the players for not being motivated.
And he played all these guys that nobody had ever heard of at the weekend. And now your starters are back. That should be motivation enough.
Yeah,
no?
true. You're right. It was an absolute nightmare for them. Terrible, just a terrible performance. Atletico Madrid make it 15 wins in a row as they beat Elche 4-0 away in the Copa del Rey. And El Cholo rumbles on, Gab.
Well, it helps when you've got the only living Sorlot in captivity. Bow down before him. 2 goals for the big man. You know what? Who cares if he doesn't? If for some reason in big games he likes to play that little Griezmann guy and Alvarez and the World Cup winner Alvarez ahead of him.
Who scored as well? Alvarez came on and scored.
And by the way, Riquelme the best goal of the game
Riquelme?
by far.
Yeah,
by far. Lovely. Yeah, they've got the momentum. Elche aren't good, but I think it's good for him that you keep your other strikers involved and scoring and happy, so that when you do need to call them, they're ready, because they have more depth at striker than most teams in Europe.
Yeah, that's true.
Omar Marmoush scores again, even as he continues to flirt with Manchester City. Show a bit of leg there.
Yeah.
And Eintracht come from behind to beat Freiburg 4-1.
Impressive.
Jules, he now has as many goals as Harry Kane.
Yeah, impressive season for him, impressive season for Frankfurt. Even when they a goal down, they come back. They play with so much intensity. They're great. We've said it many, many times. If you haven't watched them this season, go and watch them, because they are great to watch. They're very entertaining, and he's outstanding. I don't know if he can keep this up. If he moves to City, if he stays, or if he goes somewhere else. I don't know if this is a one-off season, or if really he's got, because he's never played that well ever. He's 25 now. He's never played. They picked him on a free, and because of that. So let's see. I hope for him he can continue and getting better and better and keeping that kind of form. But it's just remarkable.
3rd best Egyptian forward in the world.
Who's the second?
Well, Mido. It's always Mido. The answer is always
in
Mido.
the history, because I was looking at active players.
No. Right now, I bet Mido could come out. No, I'm just kidding. I love Mido. Yeah, the only thing is, I go back to this, and this will become an issue if he does sign. I don't understand this, because for the same reason, when Chelsea started thinking that, Nkunku can be our backup center forward, because look, he played up front before. Yeah, he played up front in a 2, which is very different.
Which is the same as Marmoush. Yeah.
And Marmoush plays in a 2 with Ekitike, who's really good. Are you really gonna play him with Holland?
Sometimes I guess you can,
but it's an adjustment.
Yeah. True,
Why do you make adjustments mid season when you're in this condition?
But then if you need a player that you want to play wide as well, because you're not happy when you have to play.
Savigno.
No, but you have to play
and
Grealish, I guess. Do you see what I mean? So maybe I don't know. I can understand why they also want Marmoush, and I think the Marmoush deal to City will go through at some point later in the month.
You know what? But if he's going to end up costing 60, 70, 80 million, I mean, Janaga Fjortoft says 80 million.
Yeah.
Isn't the obvious question, why not just keep Alvarez?
Yeah, I know, that's a good point. And that is Grimaldo free kick. He's the only goal as Bayer Leverkusen beat Mainz 1-0 to stay second, 4 points behind Bayern. Gab, it's handy to have him around, right? Especially he's recovering some form now.
Yeah, and obviously, set piece out of nowhere. Probably a better free kick than Reece James's, although Reece James is more dramatic.
Yeah.
He's still in this situation where he's playing this 3-5-1-1 with Wirtz behind Schick. He had Palacios a little further forward. I guess it turns into a 3-3-4 because Frimpong and Grimaldo go forward. But I don't like this. I don't think it produces the control that he wants. I think they still gave up a number of chances. Maybe it's the evolution of Xabi Alonso. Maybe he's showing he's more multifaceted than people thought.
Maybe.
Ollie Watkins scores the only goal to spoil Davy Moyes' debut at Everton. I know you're all bent out of shape about that. And gave Aston Villa the 3 points.
Yeah, big win for them, up to 7th now in the table for David Moyes. David Moyes, he will have to do miracles. We know that anyway. This was probably a bit too early against a really good team. I'm just not sure how David Moyes can change this Everton team is not scoring.
Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Sorry.
He hasn't scored for 16 games in a row, I think. I
think he's been injured for another 30.
It's terrible. I mean, good luck to Moyes and to Everton, because I think they will need it. And sticking with Villa, Daniel Malen, one of your favorite players, has signed and is official now. Are you happy with that?
So I think he actually, I've had my criticism of Daniel Mann.
I've always been a fan, Daniel, if you're watching.
Was salivating over him. But 25 million euros for a guy who's 25, 24, and a guy who Dortmund. This is what's happened, and I have a column up about asking whether football's entered. Well, we're gonna have deflation in football, where prices are just keep going down.
Yeah.
Daniel Malin, Dortmund paid 30 million for him, and yeah, he had injuries, he's in and out, but he's been terrible. Last season, he scored 12 goals in the Bundesliga, 15 overall. For a guy who's a winger and who's a winger who can play on either wing, by the way, that is a lot.
Yeah,
that is a ton
I
of goals.
agree.
And to think that sort of 4 years later, you're letting him go, and he still has, I think, 2 years left or 18 months on his contract. You're letting him go for just 25 million euros. That's a steal and a half.
Yeah,
I think this is a
agree.
really good move for. Like not that long ago, they were spunking 60 million on Moussa Diaby.
Yeah.
So that's how far we've come.
Absolutely.
Marseille and Monaco are both out of the Coupe de France and both lose on penalties.
Yeah.
Jules, I suppose our boy, but sorry, we should point out, at least they face top flight opposition.
Yeah, that's right.
And was it Reims and Lille?
Reims, yeah. Reims away and Lille at home from Marseille.
I suppose our boy Roberto De Zerbi will be more bummed out since this was his Champions League.
Yeah, and he in his pre-match press conference was very like, we want to win this. We want to win trophies. And the league is obviously it's going to be far more difficult.
7 points.
7 points, but that cup is great. There's no League Cup in France anymore, so this is the FA Cup. They're not in Europe, so this is the one. And they went behind against Lille, and they scored a 96-minute equalizer to go straight into pen, as we explained earlier. And then they lost on pen. Vito Mannone, remember him?
Of course, former Arsenal legend.
Exactly.
Can I say something?
Lovely, lovely guy.
Vito Mannone is the second best player to come out of the Italian town of Cusano Milanino, which is a bedroom community outside Milan,
right?
Which is where my entire mom's side of the family are from. My grandfather was the mayor of Cusano Milanino.
Okay.
And when I say Vito Mannone is the second most famous footballer to come from there,
who's the other one?
Giovanni Trapattoni.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're not going to beat that
pretty
one.
Good, pretty good. And yeah, so they were very, very angry. They were angry because the Lille president, Olivier Létang, came down onto the pitch after Marseille equalized, so just before the penalty shootout started, and spoke to the fourth referee, Mehdi Benatia, the Marseille sporting director, was sent off. The Zerbi said, I've never ever seen a president going from the stand down onto the pitch to talk to a fourth referee, which, to be fair to the Zerbi, he has a point, because I don't see anybody really doing that. It's not like if Laporta or Florentino Perez would go down and then be pitch side to talk to the fourth referee.
I will say this. How old is the Zerbi? I'm guessing 50. He's probably not old enough to remember the 1982 World Cup and Kuwait and the president of the Kuwait FA That's coming down onto the pitch.
Yeah. But still, I guess in a way he has a point. But Marseille to lose to Lille are very good, okay. But for Monaco to lose away at Reims, who haven't won in the league for ages, since November or something like that, on penalties as well, is disgraceful. So Adi Hutter and all these players really need to have a proper look at themselves, because that was just not acceptable. Gav, the Premier League released a list of clubs who had broken profit and sustainability rules, the PSR, on Tuesday. Who got punished?
Oh, you want to know who got punished?
Yeah,
Who's getting those points penalties?
Nobody!
Hey,
well
everybody's
done.
good. You've all come in under the limit. This does not mean that they're entirely off the hook for those clubs like Chelsea, for example, who are, of course, will have to face UEFA's version.
Yeah.
And the understanding of people who know more about this than I do is that UEFA does not allow intergroup transactions, like, for example, hypothetically, selling the women's team to yourself or selling yourself a hotel. The Premier League does. But yeah, no, they all came in. And whatever you think of this, this is good, because this means, when we talked about deflation, this means costs are coming down and the business becomes more sustainable. It's time! It's time! It's Textor time! Lyon crash out of the Coupe de France against 50-year... I can't even pronounce this. Is it Bourgoin-Jallieu?
Yeah, nice.
There you go. Jules, that wasn't even the wildest part of our hero, JT's week.
Absolutely not. Let's start with...
honestly, for him to be bumped from the craziest spot on the show...
Yeah.
it's going to come up later. It requires a man getting penile implants.
Absolutely. But for JT, started on Monday when an interview that he did with French radio RMC a few days before was released, where he literally attacks Nasser Al-Khelaifi, the PSG president, and Vincent Labrune, the head of the French league, saying that Labrune is PSG's lapdog, basically, that he can't believe the conflict of interest between for Nasser Al-Khelaifi to be the PSG president and also in charge of beIN Sport Media Group.
He's a point of the conflict of interest.
Yeah, but which is something that everybody has said for many, many years now. But it's the way he said it. And by pure coincidence, obviously, I'm sure, on that Monday evening, a lot of text messages that John Textor sent a few months ago to Nasser Al-Khelaifi when they were talking about Ryan Cherki appeared on social media. I'm
assuming Texter's not leaking his own text messages.
Definitely not.
Right?
Where he calls Ryan Cherki and his entourage a-hole.
A-hole,
idiots and that kind of stuff. Really, really bad language. Considering it's his own player as well. I mean, it's bad language for anybody, but especially including the people that work for you and that you're paying for a lot of money. It's terrible from John Textor, I think, overall. And then on Wednesday night, Lyon go and lose in a derby in a way because Bourgoin is really close to Lyon in an incredible atmosphere. They're bottom of the fifth tier, Bourgoin. So it's not even like they are.
Does
flying.
France even have a sixth tier?
Yeah, we do. Of course, we do. And for them to lose on penalty, Lacazette and Tolisso, your two most experienced players, the players that you paid the most, missing their penalties. You could not make it up.
I think Lacazette was probably worried about what Textor might call him.
Yeah, probably.
But my other thing, which we didn't mention, which he said something about how he's not going to sell any players to Paris Saint-Germain. He says, I'm not going to sell to Nasser until we shake hands and share a beer. Now,
could be a 0% beer.
That's not beer.
Well,
I honestly, he's got the sensitivity beer of a woolly mammoth or an elephant here. Nasser, I don't know. He might be. Nasser's from Qatar, right?
Yeah.
Islamic country.
Absolutely.
Now, is it possible that he is one of the very few non-Muslim Qataris?
No.
I don't think so.
Definitely not.
So you know that this dude doesn't drink.
Absolutely.
And you're putting him in a tough situation. Why would you?
I know.
Why?
It's really weird.
Don't give me non-alcoholic beer nonsense.
I don't know. I'm just saying to you, I don't drink beer, so I don't drink non-alcoholic beer either.
Because it's not beer.
But it's called like that. It's called a non-alcoholic.
They can call it whatever they want.
I know, man.
Come on, man. Whatever.
Gab, what would we do without owners and presidents entertaining us? I bet you enjoyed hearing Joan Laporta on Monday doing this very long press conference.
Oh my God, yeah. So he got moved down to third spot by Textor.
Yeah,
I guess there's always somebody more extreme. So obviously Laporta is crowing and he's a hero because they won the Super Cup and everything's great. As you know, he's been under attack from people in the media, but also other Barcelona fans, including former Barcelona club officials, people who might run against him when there's presidential elections in 2026 for his management. Some might say, I would say, mismanagement of the club and the risk he's taking with the club. He goes this whole thing, which I really hate, this whole you're either with us or against us. They don't love Barcelona. This is straight. When we say these are political clubs, this is straight out of politics, right? Where you assume that the guy on the other side of the party aisle from me doesn't honestly believe the things he says. He's doing it because he secretly hates the country, right? I mean, honestly, this is the level we come at. That's the same level of vitriol that sadly exists in mainstream politics, is now in Barcelona. So we also found out more details. You know how they had to sell VIP seating for the next X many years?
The Qataris,
He sold one Qatari investor said, I'll take 30 million worth of future VIP seats that haven't yet been built in the stadium that is not yet open. And some other guy from the Emirates says, I'll see your 30 million and I'll raise you. I'll pay 70 million for a bunch of seats, which I'll then allocate one way or another. By the way, this is money that's not going to come in later because they've taken it up front now so that they could sign Dani Olmo and Pau Victor. He also was criticized because it emerged. Obviously, they signed this massive deal with Nike. Now, it's a long-term deal. worth close to 1.7 billion. It emerged that he paid an intermediary to negotiate the deal. And the intermediary is an old name familiar to Arsenal fans.
Yeah.
It's Darren Dean, the son of Arsenal's former executive vice chairman, David Dean. He got 2.95% of the commission. Now, assuming that's 2.95 on 1.7 billion, that is a lot of money. And he's done really well for himself. And I think people are fairly asking him. I understand why intermediaries exist when players are moving. You don't want to be stable. Those you want. But you're Barcelona. You're arguably the biggest or one of the best loved football brands in the world. And you need to negotiate a deal with an apparel, a kit deal.
Who you already have before. So you've already
have
a relationship.
You already know them, right?
Somebody new.
So it's like, okay, so I'll talk to Nike or I'll talk to Adidas or maybe I'll talk to what, Lotto? Puma?
Yeah.
Are there many more here?
No, exactly.
They all know your deal's expiring. They all know you have to sign a new one.
Yeah.
Do you need to have somebody who you pay 2.95%? He says, yes, it would have been much worse. The deal almost collapsed without him.
Yeah, I'm sure.
These are not the things you should be saying, dude.
Yeah.
Sevilla defender Quique Salas has been arrested for allegedly getting booked deliberately so his friends could win bets. The Lucas Paqueta.
Paqueta, exactly. Because
well, actually, we don't know Lucas Paqueta.
No, we don't.
The case
know.
is still ongoing, but that is what he's accused of.
But and it seemed from the investigation pretty obvious that a lot of bets were placed in the same area. And the area, guess what? Where Quique Salas is from, where all the family and friends still live, on the night where Sevilla were playing and Quique Salas were playing, on the nights where he got booked as well. Apparently that earned his mates and his family 9,000 euros or 10,000 euros, something like that. So it's not even they made that much money.
And the best part for me, because I'm childish and stupid, is I wrote here the name of the town where the suburb of Seville where they were. Do you want to read it?
I knew it. I'll let you say it.
It's Morón de la Frontera, which of course I read as Moron de la Frontera because I am puerile.
But Quique Salas was a good, promising young player. And
he's 22. He can still be that again.
But no, he's going to be banned for a very long time. This is a 10-year ban.
10 years?
This will be 10 years. This will be 10 years. I guarantee you.
This is really bad if found guilty.
It's terrible. I can't believe things like that happen. The Times report that Chelsea are negotiating a financial settlement with the Premier League, Gabby, to avoid a points penalty in the case of Roman Abramovich's illegal payments to agents in the Willian and Samuel Eto'o deals in the past. Does that sound fair to you? And maybe just recap the story for people who have forgotten.
So this has to do with stuff that happened nearly a decade ago. The transfers of Willian and Samuel Eto'o from who they were at Anji Makhachkala, I believe. And apparently some payments left Chelsea and made their way into accounts which it's not clear how they're related to the players or to the clubs. The implication is that these were orchestrated by the clubs to make the deals happen and maybe use a slush fund, hide away money. This is very serious. It's a very serious charge.
And Bluco found out about it when they bought the club and saw the books.
This is exactly the thing. Bluco, Todd Bowley, Bedad, Ebali. When these guys went, they did due diligence about the club. They said, uh-oh, we think something bad's here.
What's this?
So they held back 150 million, which is probably more than they needed to hold back from the payment price. And they reported it. They reported it to UEFA and to the Premier League. With UEFA, they reached a settlement. The UEFA said, all right, thank you for reporting this. You could have kept it hidden from us, but you reported it, so we're going to fine you, I think it was 10 million euros, something like that. I assume it's going to take something different from the Premier. It's going to be roughly the same for the Premier League.
Yeah.
It seems fair to me. It doesn't seem fair to me to punish the new owners.
I agree.
It's kind of like if you buy a house and you go and you find drugs in the house and you report it to the police. I mean, are you held liable?
No, it's right.
So I don't think, of the many things that you can have a go at Todd Bowley for, this is not one.
No.
He did the right thing here. And I think this would be a very reasonable settlement. My question would be is, why does everything take so freaking long with lawyers and stuff?
Yeah, definitely.
They reached a deal with UEFA, like a year and a half ago, it feels like? More Chelsea defender talk. Trevoh Chalobah is on his way back from his loan at Palace, and Maresca addressed Renato Vega's desire to play center back, which I think now is even less likely.
Yeah. I mean, Chalobah makes a lot of sense. He was there on loan more than go and spend 50 million on Mark Gahey, for example. When Gahey was also one of your players in the past, it's right to recall Chalobah. So this is normal. And then Maresca said about Vega playing centre back. He said, "Yeah, I also would like to have hair, but this is not possible." So I think we got the message from Maresca that it's very unlikely that Renato Vega at some point plays centre back for Chelsea.
I was going to make an inappropriate joke about something we're going to talk about later on in the show.
Yeah, please don't. Let me move on. Although it's an ugly story, Gabby, from Tamworth after their FA Cup defeat last weekend against Tottenham.
Chris Ray, who I discover is the son of former Arsenal forward Christopher Ray. Actually, for a minute, I thought it was the same guy, and he was really, really old and still playing. So he was racially abused after the game, I believe online, and apparently for missing a chance and ruining somebody's bet or something, and he reported it, as right he should. He does not feel that he got support from the club.
Right.
And the club saying we want to keep things internal. Wrong thing to say if you're a club. Nobody. It's well done, Chris Ray, to come out and say, all right.
Absolutely.
So he refused to play in their next game because he didn't feel the support. And by the way, at this level, I believe they're professionals, but they're basically semi-professionals.
Yeah.
So it is costing him money. I mean, also it's not like he's got like 3 Bentleys in his garage, as far as I know.
Yeah.
But he's making a stand about this, and yeah, well done to him. I think Tamworth have the opportunity now to make it right, and let's hope he gets the support that this warrants. James Rodriguez has joined Leon in Liga MX. Jules, it didn't work out at Rayo, but we still get to see him. Probably the Club World Cup too.
We will, absolutely, Gabby. I mean, he continues his Tour du Monde, traveling the world, find clubs. He's gone in many countries now, and
Western Sydney Wanderers next, maybe.
Probably. Or Newcastle, but the Newcastle from Australia. But yeah, so good luck to him. I'm not really sure what happened at Rayo.
You never played?
Why he never played? Was it because he didn't train hard, didn't want to train?
Because he doesn't run. He stands around.
On the back of the good Copa America that he had, we thought, oh, wow, it's so good to see James. And rightly so. It's so good to see James back in that kind of form. Rayo probably thought, yeah, he's going to help us in the season. And actually, it was an absolute car crash. So, good luck to him in Liga MX. But if he thinks that it's going to be easy, he should think twice. Marca reports that Al Nassr wants Cristiano Ronaldo to extend his contract, which expires at the end of this current season, and they are even offering him shares in the club. Would that be enough?
Shares of the club.
Shares of Al Nassr, if you own 5% of the club.
5% of a club where you own 5% of a club that loses money, largely to pay your salary, by the way. I don't see how this moves the needle at all for Cristiano Ronaldo. I think it's funny that they even thought, I mean, Cristiano, whatever, but the guy who looks after him, Uncle George, is pretty sharp.
They're not, they fell out. So I'm not sure.
They did fall out, but I'm assuming Uncle George still wants to get paid here.
Yeah, I guess so.
Whoever it is says, guys, these shares in Al Nassr, maybe some future point when the club becomes profitable and worth something, and the SPL becomes like a normal league with normal people owning it and not the public investment fund, the sovereign wealth fund of the country owning the 4 biggest clubs, including this. And so you might actually have decision making and you could actually sell shares to people. Maybe this mythical point in the future when Cristiano will probably be 80 years old and still playing in pursuit of Christine Sinclair's international record.
Yeah.
Maybe you could, but no, this is just a PR stunt. And yeah, it's 5% of what? 5% of something where you have to put in money every year to take over the losses. Yeah. I mean, it's really funny. If you give them 5% and they say, oh, because I have no idea how the accounting works there. I'm assuming it's normal accounting at least.
Yeah, I think so.
So what happens at the end of the year, Al Nassr go and they see, how much revenue do we make from sponsors and blah, 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 and how much in the hole are we? 200 million. Okay, shareholders, everybody put in money, right? Put in equity. What are you going to do? Go in like, hey, Cristiano, you got 5%. Yeah, you get to put in 5%. He's like, well, yeah, yeah. Cristiano's going to be like, yeah, okay, guys, checks in the mail. Come on, man.